Chapter 11. The Conference. Innumerable figures were scurrying around the headquarters of the time-saving bank, a grey-lit labyrinth of passages and corridors, passing on the latest news in agitated whispers. Every member of the directional board had been summoned to attend an extraordinary general meeting. Some surmised that this portended a dire emergency, others that new and untapped sources of time had been discovered. The directors were already closeted in the boardroom. They sat side by side at a conference table so long that it seemed to go on forever, each with his steel-grey briefcase and small grey cigar. They had removed their bowler hats for the occasion, and every last one of them had a bald head as grey as the rest of him. Their mood, if such bloodless creatures could be said to have feelings at all, was universally dejected. The chairman rose from his place at the head of the long table. The hum of conversation died away, and two interminable rows of grey faces turned towards him. "Gentlemen," he began, "the situation is grave. I feel bound to acquaint you at once with the unpalatable but inescapable facts of the matter. Every available agent was assigned to hunt down the girl named Momo. This operation lasted a total of 6 hours, 13 minutes and 8 seconds. While engaged on it, all the said agents were inevitably compelled to neglect the true purpose of their existence, namely time gathering. To this loss of revenue must be added the time expended during the manhunt by our agents themselves. Accurate computations disclose that the sum of these two debit entries amounts to 3,738,259,114 seconds. That, gentlemen, is more than a whole human lifetime. I need hardly tell you what such a deficit means to us." Here he pointed dramatically to a huge steel door, bristling with combination locks and safety devices, set in the wall at the far end of the boardroom. "Our reserves of time are not inexhaustible, gentlemen," he pursued in a louder voice. "If the manhunt had paid off, well and good. As it is, we wasted time to no purpose. The girl eluded us. There must be no repetition of this disastrous affair. I shall strongly oppose any more such time-consuming operations from now on. Time must be saved, not squandered. I would therefore urge you to frame your future plans accordingly. That is all I have to say, gentlemen. Thank you for your attention." He sat down, blowing out a dense cloud of smoke. Agitated whispers ran the length of the boardroom. Then, at the other end of the table, a second speaker rose to his feet. Every head turned in his direction. "Gentlemen," he said, "we all have the interests of the time-saving bank at heart. However, I find it quite unnecessary for us to view this affair with alarm, still less to regard it as a catastrophe. Nothing could be further from the truth. We all know that our reserves of time are so immense that our position would not be endangered, even by a loss many times greater than the one we have just sustained. What is a human lifetime after all? By our standards, a mere pinprick. I fully agree with our chairman that there must be no repetition of this incident. On the other hand, nothing like it has ever happened before, and the chances of its happening again are very remote. The chairman was right to reproach us for allowing the girl to escape. On the other hand, our sole purpose was to render her harmless, and that we have successfully done. The creature has disappeared. She has fled beyond the borders of time. We are rid of her, in other words. Personally, I feel we have every reason to congratulate ourselves. The second speaker sat down with a complacent smile. The smattering of applause that greeted his remarks was cut short when a third speaker rose, this time from a seat halfway along the great table. "I shall be brief," he said sourly. "In my opinion, the last speaker's soothing words were thoroughly irresponsible. This Momo is no ordinary child. We all know she possesses powers capable of presenting a serious threat to us and our activities. The fact that no such incident has ever occurred before is no guarantee that it won't occur again. We must remain on our guard. We must not rest content until the child is in our power, because only then can we be sure she will never harm us again. Having managed to leave the realm of time, she may re-enter it at any moment. And she will. You mark my words." He sat down. The other directors winced and bowed their heads in silence. "Gentlemen," said a fourth speaker who was sitting across the table from the third, "pardon me for my being blunt, but we are dodging the issue. We must face the fact that an alien power has been meddling in our business. After carefully examining every aspect of the situation, I find that the odds against any creature crossing the borders of time, alive or unaided, are precisely 42 million to 1. In other words, it's a near impossibility." Another buzz of agitation ran around the boardroom. "Everything suggests," the fourth speaker continued when the murmurs had subsided, "that someone helped the girl to elude us. You all know who I mean. The person in question titles himself Professor Hora." At the sound of this name, most of the men in grey flinched, as if they had been struck. Others jumped to their feet, shouting and gesticulating. The fourth speaker raised his arms for silence. "Gentlemen, gentlemen," he cried, "a little self-control, if you please. I am well aware that any mention of that name is, well, not quite proper. I utter it with extreme reluctance, I assure you, but we mustn't be blind ourselves of the facts. If the girl received assistance from the aforesaid, he must have had his reasons, and those reasons cannot be other than detrimental to us. In short, gentlemen, we must allow for the possibility that the aforesaid may not only send the girl back, but arm her against us in some way. She will then be a mortal danger to us. We must therefore be prepared not merely to sacrifice another human lifetime or lifetimes. No, gentlemen, in the last resort we must stake everything we possess. I repeat, everything. Because if the worst happens, thrift could spell our destruction. I think you know what I'm getting at." The director's agitation mounted, and they all started talking at once. A fifth speaker jumped on his chair and waved his arms wildly. "Quiet," he bellowed. "It's all very well for the last speaker to hint at a host of dire possibilities, but he obviously doesn't know how to deal with them himself. He says we must be prepared for any sacrifice. Well and good. We must stop at nothing. Well and good. We mustn't stint our resources. Well and good. But these are just empty words. Let him tell us what practical steps to take. None of us knows how the aforesaid will arm the girl against us. We shall be confronted by a wholly unknown danger. That's the problem we have to solve." The boardroom was in uproar now. Some of the directors shouted incoherently. Others drummed on the table with their fists. Others buried their heads in their hands. All were overcome with panic. A sixth speaker strove hard to make himself heard above the din. "Gentlemen, please," he kept repeating in a soothing voice until peace was finally restored. "I implore you to take a calm and common-sense view on this matter. Even assuming that the girl comes back from the aforesaid, and even assuming that he arms her against us in some way, there will be absolutely no need for us to do battle with her ourselves. We aren't particularly well equipped for such a confrontation, as the lamentable fate of our late employee, agent number BLW553C, has so amply demonstrated. But that won't be necessary. We have human accomplices in plenty, gentlemen. Provided we make discreet and skillful use of them, we shall be able to dispose of the girl Momo and the threat she represents without ever having to intervene in person. Such a method of procedure would, I feel sure, be not only economical, but safe and highly effective." A sigh of relief went up from the assembled throng. The directors found this a sensible suggestion and would probably have adopted it on the spot had not the floor been claimed by someone seated near the head of the table. "Gentlemen," he began, "we keep debating how best to get rid of the girl Momo. Our motive, let's be honest, is fear. But fear is a bad counselor. I feel we are missing a golden opportunity, a unique opportunity. There's a saying, if you can't beat him, join him. Well, why shouldn't we persuade the girl to join us? Why not get her on our side?" "Hear, hear," cried a number of voices. "Go on." "It seems clear," the seventh speaker continued, "that this child has found her way to the aforesaid. In other words, she got there via the route that has eluded us for so long. If she can find it again, as she probably can, with ease, she can lead us there. We shall then be able to deal with the aforesaid in our own way, very speedily too, I feel sure. Once that is done, we need no longer toil at gathering time by the hour, minute, or second. No, gentlemen, because we shall have captured mankind's whole store of time at a stroke. And possessing the whole of time means wielding absolute power. Just think, gentlemen, we shall have attained our goal, and all because of the girl you propose to eliminate." A deathly hush had descended on the boardroom. "That's all very well," protested someone, "but you know it's impossible to lie to the girl. Remember what happened to agent number BLW553C? We would all end up like him." "Who said anything about lying to her?" retorted the seventh speaker. "We would tell her all about our plan, naturally." "Then she'd never go along with it," the skeptic persisted. "The whole idea is preposterous." "Don't be too sure, my friend," a ninth speaker broke in. "We'd have to make her a tempting proposition. For instance, we could promise her as much time as she wants." "And break our promise later, of course," said the skeptic. The ninth speaker gave an icy smile. "Of course not," he said. "If we didn't mean what we said, she'd sense it at once." "No, no," cried the chairman, banging the table. "I couldn't agree to that. If we really gave her all the time she wanted, it would cost us a fortune." "Hardly that," the ninth speaker said blandly. "How much time can one child consume, after all? True, it would be a minor drain on our resources. But think what we'd be getting in return. The time of everyone else in the world. Momo would consume very little, and the little she did consume would simply have to be charged to overheads." Consider the advantages, gentlemen. The ninth speaker resumed to his seat while everyone weighed the pros and cons. All the same, the sixth speaker said eventually, it wouldn't work. Why not? For the simple reason, I'm afraid, that the girl already possesses all the time she wants. There'd be no point in trying to bribe her with something she has plenty of. Then we would have to deprive her of it first, the ninth speaker replied. We are talking in circles, the chairman said wearily. The child's beyond our reach, that's the whole trouble. A sigh of disappointment ran the length of the boardroom table. May I venture a suggestion? Asked a tenth speaker. The floor is yours, said the chairman. The tenth speaker gave the chairman a little bow before proceeding. This girl, he said, is fond of her friends. She loves devoting her time to others. What would become of her if there were no one left to share it with her? If she won't assist us of her own free will, we must concentrate on her friends instead. He produced a folder from his briefcase and flipped it open. The principal persons concerned are named as Beppo Roadsweeper and Guido Guide. I also have here a list of the children who pay her regular visits. I suggest we simply lure these people away so she can't get in touch with them. What will Momo's abundance of time amount to when she's all on her own? A burden, a positive curse. Sooner or later she won't be able to stand it anymore, and when that time comes, gentlemen, we shall present her with our terms. I'll wager 1,000 years to a microsecond that she'll show us the way just to get her friends back. Downcast till now, the men in grey raised their heads. Every face broke into a thin-lipped smile of triumph. Every pair of hands applauded. The sound reverberated along the interminable passages and corridors like an avalanche of stones rattling down a mountainside.